Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Today's episode is part of a podcast series produced in collaboration with Visit Johnson City and the regional partners hosting the OWAA's inaugural Field Fest event. Our guest today is Kristen Combs. Kristen is the Director of Communication and Social Strategies for Visit Knoxville. Kristen, good morning. It's a pleasure to have you on the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Welcome.
Good morning. The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Fantastic. I love your background, by the way. You got some flowers, some nice artwork, and it's very festive. Occasionally I get the bookshelves with file folders, because I know in your work, you've got a lot of projects that you're navigating through the system to get implemented, but you've got that nice background. So I think
Well,
that's
thank
pretty
you.
special.
Yeah, this is strategically hiding all said projects. They're on my desk just off screen. And these are thanks to me and my 4-year-old daughter. We love to paint together.
I love it. I love it. So Visit Knoxville. And first off, what does it mean to be the Director of Communications and Social Strategies for Visit Knoxville?
Yeah, kind of a wild title. So, yeah, I write for and manage the blog, and I provide additional editorial content for visitknoxville.com. I operate Visit Knoxville social media platforms, and I provide itineraries and resources for visiting travel writers and influencers, all kinds of things that fall under the communications and marketing umbrella.
Excellent. So when I read the intro, I mentioned the OWAAs, and for our listener, the Outdoor Writers Association of America's inaugural Field Fest event. And I know there's going to be an event. It's on the tail end of the Field Fest, and it's going to be for our journalists within our organization to come and get to know, explore, and enjoy a little bit of Knoxville.
Yeah, so it's a perfect little add-on to the Johnson City area. So we're looking forward to hosting a few journalists that might be interested in covering Knoxville as part of that experience.
Excellent. And how did you get roped into doing this by Alec? Because I think he's the king of roping people into doing things.
But he's got a lot of energy. Alec is great. Love working with him. And so he basically just reached out and said, "Hey, we're hosting this event and we'd love for you to be a part of it." And we looked at it. Knoxville, of course, is very outdoor centric. So it seemed like a natural fit. So that's really how it happened.
Okay. Now, since this is on the Visit Knoxville and what you're planning for the journalist, and there's a lot of different kinds of journalists. There's the print media, there's video, there's writers, photographers, there's podcasters like myself. What types of events do you have planned, if you can share? I realize some of these are going to be very secretive and special, the last minute surprise. But if you can, what do you have planned for journalists that like ours who are specialized in the outdoor space?
Sure. Well, we're still working on those itineraries, and I think that may also depend to your point what type of journalists they may be. So we have a little bit of flexibility with that. But Knoxville really has a lot of different things to offer. Just like in your background, the Tennessee River runs right through the city. So from a paddling perspective, there's definite opportunity there. There's lots of hiking that's very close to downtown. So you're not stuck in the car for hours trying to find a hiking trail. If you're looking for a more peaceful experience, we've got some botanical gardens. We've got greenways where you can cruise on your bike and find different attractions along the way. We've got a wonderful, really exciting opportunity for those who are into the mountain biking scene. So
Mhm.
we really haven't put the pieces in place yet, but they're there. And we're kind of excited to work with the journalists to offer something really exciting in Knoxville.
Okay. What kind of advice do you typically have for journalists who are coming into the city or would like to come into the city, or work that you work with? And do you work with a broad spectrum like our outdoor writers, or are there, do you usually start with like the niche like the paddlers, the disc golfers, the mountain bikers? How do you begin to work with them once they reach out to you or you reach out to them?
Yeah, so really it kind of depends on what they're looking for. We love it when they have kind of an idea of what they're going for. I would say that it's nice to kind of have a route. We can, of course, do a 24, 48-hour type of scenario in Knoxville. But really, the ones that are more tailored are really fun to create. I never do the same itinerary twice. So it's really kind of who are they? Who is their audience? What are they interested in? For example, I've highlighted women's stories or Black history for specific experiences. Some people are very adventurous and they want to go on a double diamond black mountain biking trail. And some people are like, no, I'm here to cruise the Greenway. Let's keep it light and easy. So I really like to get to know them. And that helps me guide that experience.
And what type of media is being produced? I mean, where are you? I'm sure it's everywhere, but where are you finding when journalists are coming into Knoxville and want to explore, get to know the city? Where are some of the places their product is showing up?
Really, it runs the gamut. Everything from a social media perspective to regular traditional publications. It could be their own blogs. It really depends. It's kind of all over. There's a lot of opportunity out there.
Okay, and if a journalist or a group like the OWAA would like to explore and visit Knoxville, do they typically reach out to you?
Yeah, there's a form on our website that they can submit their information and gives us an opportunity to get to know them a little bit better on who they are, what publications they write for, is it a good fit, that kind of a thing. And then we can kind of start the conversation from there.
Okay. Now, you've mentioned the word publications a couple times, and I would be remiss if I did not share this. You are actually an accomplished author, and you have a special book that's near and dear to your heart in Knoxville. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. Yeah, I can show that to you here.
Please.
So for those at the visual, 100 Things to Do in Knoxville Before You Die. This is now out a year, celebrating a year with Reedy Press is the publisher. So a really exciting opportunity for me to tell all of my favorite stories about Knoxville in a really fun, digestible format where you can really flip open and find something fun to do. I love it.
I love that too. And we may have to have our own separate podcast to talk about that because you are, I believe now, the third guest on my podcast who have an affiliation with the 100 Things to Do Before You Die series.
I
I
love
had
that.
Amy Eckert, who was 100 Things to Do in Detroit Before You Die. Now, as a Detroiter, and I know you're from Michigan as well in Westland, Detroit is near and dear to our heart, and we can't go back
Sure.
there without enjoying some of what it has to offer. And Melanie McManus, 100 Things to Do in Wisconsin Dells Before You Die. And it's like, I don't know that I have 100 things to do before you die book in me, but I certainly love having you all on the show. And so I am curious, and I don't want to give it away because I do have a list I'd like to talk to you about. But
Sure.
what is that one or two really special places that are in the book that you would want to share with our listeners? The one that's near and dear to your heart.
Sure. Well, for me, it's kind of like a sort of random, I guess, but and I get this question all the time, and I feel like I should be better prepared to answer it because I think people are expecting like this one big thing. But one of my favorite things truly is I love the botanical gardens here, and I love combining those with a couple of other elements. What I mean by that is putting the greenways with them. I
Mm.
love to either rent a bike from the Knoxville Adventure Collective downtown or bring my own bike, cruise the Neyland Greenway where you're seeing Neyland Stadium and the beautiful Tennessee River, and get to the botanical garden. And in my basket, I've most likely got some snacks, maybe a croissant from the French market downtown, and maybe some watercolors, and just really take my time and relax. And I say this in the book. I say it's about 2.5 miles if you start from the downtown Neyland Greenway. And it's enough to get your blood pumping without passing out, which is a goal of mine. So
I can
combining
appreciate
all of
that.
those things together, the art, the food, the nature, it kind of all comes together for me here in Knoxville.
Okay. So you had mentioned at the start that the paintings behind you were yours and your daughter's creation, and
Yes.
so when you are on your bike, I'm actually thinking of Paris, really. The old movies, the young lady riding the bike with the basket and the bread
Yes.
and the wine and cheese, and then the easel is with
Yes.
them. And so you take your painting easel with you, and you just find a location, just sit down there and start
I
creating.
do. I do. Yeah. The UT Gardens has a couple of different little picnic tables with umbrellas. You can kind of just hang out. I bring a water bottle if I'm doing watercolors, and I just take my time and paint some flowers and relax. It's a really great way to de stress.
I love that. I think that it needs to be on the OWAA's itinerary that you're planning.
You know what? I honestly have taken journalists to do this exact same thing, and they always protest at the beginning. They say, "Oh," once they find out what we're doing, they say, "Oh, I'm not a painter. Oh, I'm not artistic. I'm not creative. I can't do this." And I'm like, just relax, just paint what you see, enjoy it. And at the end, every single time, they've walked away smiling.
I love that. When I was down in Gulf Shores, and there is next to Gulf Shores is Orange Beach Tourism, and I can't remember the first name, last name. Her last name was McGonigal, and she would take her visitors out on kayaks and so along the waterway, and a safe part of the waterway. Not You're not out in the Gulf, and they would have little painting boxes with them, and they would basically take their kayaks and go out and paint what they were seeing from the kayak. I thought that was really cool. So there's an idea for you. You could take folks out on kayaks on the Tennessee River with the little old paint boxes, and they
I
could
love that.
paint from that perspective.
Sign me up.
No, I'm giving you an idea to plan. This is yours. I mean, I'm just throwing this idea out for you. But
I'll take it.
I think that's kind of cool. I mean, it's just Knoxville comes across as a very easy city to navigate, and there's just a lot of green space and bike paths and nature. It seems like it's all around you.
Absolutely. It's really easy to access from downtown, really any part of the city, north, south, east, west. There's something to do outdoors.
Okay. Now, I am curious. I'm a big foodie, and I will mention that in every podcast episode if I could, except for the zombie apocalypse novel authors. I don't think they really care, unless you're into brains or something like that. Do you like coffee?
Oh, I do. Yes.
Where's the go-to coffee shop in Knoxville?
Oh, gosh. Well, let me tell you this. You know how you get those little star points every time you go to a coffee shop?
Yeah.
I will literally never get 10 of them at one single place because I bop around everywhere. And it
Yeah.
kind of drives me crazy, but it's a great way to share the love and try something new. Down the street, there's several options right here from the visitor center. Easily coffee and chocolate. There's K-Brew, Old City Java, Awaken, and that's just to name a few. I could seriously go on and on about coffee. That's a whole podcast in and of itself.
I love that too. It's just give me a good coffee, preferably a good Detroit bagel. That's I have to
Oh,
when I come back to Vegas from Detroit, I usually have a suitcase filled with bagels from New York Bagel in Bialy.
yes. You'll have to check out, if you come to Knoxville, you'll have to check out Pachki. They are a Ukrainian Jewish deli here, and I think you'll really love their bialy, their lox. Give it a shot.
Oh, now you're really making me hungry here. Very good. So, what is it like to work with other towns in the Northeast Tennessee area? What was really special about Field Fest, and for our listeners, if you are following our podcast, the series is with about 8 to 9 different partners of Field Fest. We did Morristown, Bristol, uh, the Greensville, and so I'm curious, what's it like partnering with other locations to promote and plan and execute events?
Sure. Well, the most recent example I have is last fall, we did a little foodie FAM, and FAM stands for familiarization tour. where we had a couple of writers that are really focused in the food scene, particularly the whiskey scene as well. And we partnered with Townsend, that's just right there in the Smokies, to kind of host a few writers and talk about the different offerings that both destinations have. And it was a great experience. They were kind of able to see Knoxville from a little bit larger city perspective, and Townsend, they're known as the peaceful side of the Smokies. So they were able to have a couple of different experiences that coincided with the Grains and Grits Festival that you might be familiar with. So, really a great Tennessee whiskey experience there. So, we love working with our different partners. Of course, we work with the state, other partners here at East Tennessee, and we're really looking forward to Field Fest.
Excellent. And I typically would do this at the start of the podcast, but I'm out now very curious. How did you end up in Tennessee? Because being from the Detroit area, Westland, and sometimes Detroit's hard to leave. It's a great but here you are in Tennessee. How did you get there?
It really is. And that's something that people do ask me a lot, especially when I'm at events talking about my book. They always want to know, are you from Knoxville? And I tell them I'm actually not. I can actually trace my family to being in Tennessee at the time of statehood in 1796.
Oh
So
wow.
my grandparents moved up to the Detroit area after the war. My dad and myself were born up there. And then I just kind of wanted a new adventure. And so in 2011, we moved down here to Knoxville, and I absolutely love it. So while I technically wasn't born here, I've got very, very deep roots.
Okay. Now, being born in Detroit, your dad there as well after the war, was he in the auto industry?
He was not actually. My grandpa was in kind of an affiliate industry, but my dad was not. Worked for a hospital there as well as my mom. And I actually worked there very briefly when I was trying to figure out my life and wondering what to do after college, and ended up in tourism working at a hotel. I worked
Mhm.
in Ann Arbor, and I've stayed in hospitality really ever since.
Excellent. And what's it like having this career in hospitality? I mean, and I think of hospitality right off the bat. I think of hotels,
Yeah.
concierges, front desk, back office, general managers, things like that.
Yeah.
What's it like day to day being? You've talked a little bit about it, but being with a travel organization specifically for like Knoxville. What is it like compared to, say, being in that hotel experience.
Yeah, and really the similarity would be in a way that every day is different. There's
Mhm.
always new people to help, new things to offer and suggest. And I love connecting people with what they're interested in, with what that offering is. And that was always my favorite thing when I worked in the hotel world, is people looking for somewhere to go for dinner, looking for something to do on the weekend, looking for that coffee shop. And I could say, oh, well, do you have a dog with you? Or do you like this type of beer? Or there's a new exhibit over here. Or, hey, you told me you've got your bike. You should check this place out. So that's my favorite thing. And it transitions really into my role here at Visit Knoxville very well, with itineraries, with social media, blog posts. The content is never ending. And it's so much fun for me when people say, oh, thanks to that, I saw that blog post or I saw that social media caption, and you really helped me find a new trail or a new place to enjoy, or I'm definitely going to have to try those tacos. All of those kinds of things. I love that. It's a lot of fun for me.
Excellent. Now we're kind of leading into one of my favorite parts of these episodes, and that's like the things to do when you visit first time. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the Visit Knoxville website. What will be the experience when visitors who are, again, they read that blog, they saw a YouTube, they watched a YouTube video. They want what are they going to experience when they visit the website? What's the best way to navigate it?
It's really easy, very user friendly. You can really find anything that you're looking for in all kinds of categories. I really recommend requesting a free visitor's guide. You can view a digital version or you can have one mailed to you for free. That's a great place to start. And there's a banner on the homepage of the website that leads directly to that. And then after that, what's the category that you're into? If you're on the blog page or a specific blog, you might find things that pique your interest and you can go from there based on those links. Or
Mhm.
you can go and scroll the events calendar. And I love the events calendar because you can look at location. You can search a specific date range to find, oh, well, I'm planning a trip in Knoxville April 27th through the 30th. What's going on in town? And you can select those things and those events will pop up for you. Same thing with the restaurants, the breweries, the cultural opportunities, the museums, art galleries, the list goes on. So it's really, what are you interested in? Pull the drop down and you'll find all kinds of things to do.
I love it. Now, let's say family of 4 or 5 coming to Knoxville for the first time, mom and dad, perhaps some young kids, old enough that skateboards and playing Frisbee, throwing a ball are fun, doable.
Yeah.
What are the top 10 things that you're going to recommend that the first time visitor family do when they come and visit Knoxville?
Sure. Really, there are all kinds of things. So it's really hard to narrow down a top 10 list, but I can definitely provide a few suggestions. For
Sure.
sure, you'd have to start with the Sunsphere. I mean, that is our iconic structure. It's part of our skyline. And it's kind of fun for kids that are in elementary and beyond, that they're kind of having an understanding of the world. So they may recognize the Eiffel Tower in Paris, or they may be familiar with Seattle Space Needle. And it's really cool to tell them, hey, did you know that Knoxville Sunsphere has something in common with those structures? It's true. They're all built for different World's Fairs, and a trip up to the fourth floor observation deck, you get a great bird's eye view, 360 degrees of downtown, even clear to the Smokies on a beautiful day. So that's a great way to get a lay of the land. I'd recommend for sure starting there. And then after that, for me, I always love to recommend some history. And I think it gives a sense of place, really to understand what's going on now. The best way to know the present is to look back. So a visit to the East Tennessee History Center, it really encapsulates the time of the indigenous peoples and the Cherokee all the way up to the 1982 World's Fair. So the kids will already be starting to make those connections when they see images of the Sunsphere and then being in the Sunsphere. I think those are really cool connections for kids to make.
I have to say, I did not know there was a sun sphere in Knoxville. I did not even know there was a World's Fair in Knoxville. Now, was that sun sphere built for that World's Fair?
It was, yes. It was built for the 1982 World's Fair. So we recently, of course, celebrated 40 years. And I just think that it's a really cool structure that is just an integral part of Knoxville.
Wow. Okay. I learned something new today. 2 things actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, too, Knoxville, we talk about it being an artsy kind of town, too. There's definitely an element of arts, creatives, makers here. Knoxville is, in fact, known as the Maker City. And I think one of those ways to experience that is, of course, visiting the Knoxville Museum of Art. You can get the perspective similarly to where the East Tennessee History Center is showcasing the history. The National Museum of Art is showcasing the art of people from Tennessee or inspired by East Tennessee here. So I think that's something to do as well, specifically in the terms of kids and families. Of course, a trip to the zoo is necessary. It's a great way to get some of that energy out, see the animals. Knoxville is even known as the red panda capital of the world. So I think that's a great opportunity for kids of all ages to have a wildly fun time.
Excellent.
And of course, we got to move to the outdoors. I mentioned the Tennessee River earlier, and there's a lot of ways to experience that as well. The Tennessee River is formed by the confluence of the Holston and the French Broad that come together just a couple miles east of downtown Knoxville. And you can paddle, kayak, you can experience that with the Knoxville Adventure Collective. Or if you want to experience the river, but maybe a personal watercraft isn't for you, you could check out the Tennessee River Boat or the Volunteer Princess. We've got other options for a nice scenic cruise, maybe even add on a dinner or brunch to that. So that's another good opportunity.
Very
While
nice.
we're talking about the outdoors, I have to include Knoxville's urban wilderness. It's kind of hard to describe in a way, but as you can really see a glimpse of it when you go up to the Sunsphere, which I think is cool. If you're looking south, you might think to yourself, looks a little bit underdeveloped, looks very green. There's a lot of forest going on. What is going on over there? That's part of the urban wilderness. And it's really a bunch of connected areas that you can paddle, you can hike, bike, climb, maybe just wander around in the woods. And it's so close to the heart of downtown, just a couple miles away. There are over 60 trails that you can explore, some of those good for hiking, some of those good for mountain biking. There's quarries to explore, adventure playgrounds, an adventure center, like it goes on and on. So there's really an adventure for everyone from kind of low key to chill to a little bit more heart pumping.
I love it.
So I think outdoors enthusiasts are really going to have a great time here. And then
And
for a touch of culture, I'd have to add on to the theater scene, live music. We have plenty of opportunities here. The Tennessee Theater is the State Theater of Tennessee. And then we've got the iconic Bijou. The Clarence Brown is on campus at the University of Tennessee and more. So plenty of opportunities for that.
now I'm getting hungry right now because you're really making a full day out of this. So, and besides coffee, I'm a big breakfast guy. If I had to pick a meal, it definitely would be breakfast. You
It'd be
mentioned the
breakfast for you.
deli. Yeah, so bagel and lox sandwich sounds really good, but what are you gonna do? Because these kids, they're they're not exactly macaroni and cheese and pizza every night, so what are we
Right.
gonna feed these children?
Well, I think that there's a lot of opportunities for food here in Knoxville, and that's also, of course, a personal topic. Really, everyone has their preferences, but I think vacation is the perfect time to try something new, and it's a perfect reason to kind of branch out. One of those that I would always suggest is Yassine's Falafel House. In 2018, they were named nicest place in America by a Good Morning America Reader's Digest poll announced on Good Morning America. So
God,
maybe your kids aren't familiar with shawarma and falafel, but I think they should be. So
they
that's where
should
you
be.
need to go. And then maybe
Okay.
if you're looking for some nice date night, maybe try JC Foldway, home to Tennessee's first James Beard award-winning chef. So that's really exciting that that's right here in the heart of downtown and everything in between. I think there's something truly here for everyone in Knoxville.
I love it, I love it, and you mentioned whiskey earlier, and that's something else that's near and dear to my heart, good whiskey, and I know there's a when you talk whiskey, you're getting personal in
Sure.
that neck of the woods. So tell us a little bit about the ale trail and the whiskey trail.
Yeah, so some may be familiar with the Tennessee Whiskey Trail. So that's a kind of a program that goes throughout the state, of which Knoxville has two stops here. And great thing that they're right down the street from each other on Jackson Avenue in the old city. So sample a little bit here, sample a little bit there. And then for those that are more into the beer scene, or maybe they like both, they can check out Knoxville's Ale Trail. So there's a lot of stops there here in Knoxville that they can check out every kind of variety of beer that you could ever want. um, oh, there's over 2 dozen breweries in Knoxville, so we've got a great beer scene here.
Excellent. And of course, we can't leave this getaway without giving the kids some souvenirs. And maybe mom and dad want a T-shirt, but what are we gonna let them leave Knoxville with, saying this is what I brought home besides those wonderful memories?
Absolutely. Well, of course, we'd always recommend for you to start and even end your visit at our own visitor center. We support a lot of local makers that are offered here in the Visit Knoxville gift shop. So you can check out all kinds of things there and also get all kinds of information for planning your trip. But something really special that we have here in our visitor center is a radio station that broadcasts WDVX. And they put on the Blue Plate Special most days here at noon. And it's a free live on the air radio program that it's kind of come in, leave as you please. It's pet friendly. It's a great live music opportunity.
I love it, and it's a wonderful top 10 list. And I'm like thinking I need to spend a whole week in Knoxville. We may have to talk about that one, but
I
we'll
think so.
do a podcast live from Knoxville. I just think it's a wonderful city and one I know of, but I never really, and I have to say, I don't know a lot about, and I feel like after chatting with you and researching for this episode, this is a city I want to visit, and I'm so excited that Visit Knoxville is a part of the Field Fest, and I hope many of our journalists who are attending this event will want to stay on and take part and advantage of what you and Knoxville have to offer. So thank you so much. This is
I
great.
certainly hope so. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, before we let you head out, because I know you're a busy professional, you probably have a lot of planning for your potential visitors to do today. But if our listeners would like to learn more about you and your work, where are the best places for them to go?
Sure. Well, they can check out visitknoxville.com, of course. So we are on all the major platforms, Facebook, Instagram, etc. I would highly recommend following us on those platforms because there's all kinds of wonderful content to learn about our destination. And then me personally, you can find my website, sawthisdidthat.com. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at 100 Things Knoxville, where I share some of my more personal things from my book and miscellaneous shenanigans that I get into. So you can find me there.
I love it, and we will provide all the backlinks to Visit Knoxville, your social sites, as well as your website. Saw this, did that, and I have to say before we do head out, I love your hashtag and I saw it on the website, Knox Rocks. I just think that's cool. There's
Thank
just some,
you.
there's just something about that. So, did you come up with that, or somebody?
I did not. That has been well established, but it rings true. Knox does rock.
Excellent. Well, Kristen, again, I want to thank you so much for being a part of Field Fest and the partners that are helping to make this a stellar event. It's our first time event of the sort, and I am very excited to be up there in July 7th through 11th. And I'm sure you and I will cross paths, and it's just great to get to know you beforehand and be able to share this interview, not with my audience in the Outdoor Adventure Series, but also our audience who are the members of the Outdoor Writers Association of America. So, again, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you. The pleasure is absolutely all mine. We here are very excited about this event.
Excellent. Listen, stay in the line. We're going to do a real quick close, and you and I can have a final chat. Okay? All right, folks, we've just been chatting with Kristen Combs. She is the Director of Communications and Social Strategy for Visit Knoxville. I don't know about you, but I think Knoxville needs to be on our weekend getaway list because what a wonderful city. I mean, it's sometimes big cities can be overwhelming, and sometimes that small town can be, I need something to do. And I'm thinking Knoxville's right there in the bullseye between those two. It's got the best, got good food, art, culture, the outdoor spaces, and it's definitely something you want to take advantage of. I really appreciate the top 10 list that Kristen shared with us today. Now we're going to create a video for that, which will be also in addition to the full podcast episode. That video will be up on all of our social channels as well. I do want you to make sure to go out and visit Visit Knoxville website as well as their social sites. They do have a newsletter you can sign up for on the Visit Knoxville website, so take advantage of that. And also, again, this 100 Things to Do Before You Die series, I just think are wonderful. And so we're going to provide a backlink to Kristen's website, saw this, did that. .com, and you can check out her book, 100 Things to Do in Knoxville Before You Die. And those links, again, will be there. As for us, this episode will be on all of the podcast directories. Just search for outdooradventureseries.com. Just like and follow us and share it. And you can also find these episodes up on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages on the Outdoor Adventure Series. We have our YouTube page as well. So, folks, again, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This is a part of our series with the Visit Johnson City, and we really want to thank them again and all of the regional partners for collaborating on this podcast series. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day, and we look forward to having you join us on a future episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Take care now.